Hello and welcome to Rock Paper Shotgun. You've stumbled onto a new series called Can We Build It, where I, Alice LaGrory, will be building famous PC gaming locations in The Sims 4. We're a PC gaming channel, but I'm a Sims fanatic, so we're kind of going like with them and mixing them together. We're starting off with What Remains of Edith Finch, not the whole house, just the twins' bedroom, so let's see how I get on. What Remains of Edith Finch is a narrative adventure game set inside a large ramshackle house where each room tells the story of the person who lived in it. I say lived, past tense, as members of the Finch family have the unfortunate habit of dying in unusual ways. It's your job to pick through their lives by snooping through their stuff. These rooms are strange, beautiful and often heartbreaking, and a real challenge to recreate in The Sims. I chose a bedroom of Sam and Calvin, a pair of twins who couldn't be more different. One is into astronomy, the other is into military and photography. Calvin, the budding astronomer, died at age 11, but Sam continued to live in the room until he was enlisted into the Marines before later dying at 33. A lot of sad memories here. I've got my work cut out for me. I'm going to speed up my building and I'll be talking you through my processes, showing you what I did to achieve the final build, which you're looking at right now. And I'll be showing you comparisons of the actual set compared to my version of it. With gameplay and object limitations, the recreation isn't exact, but I've made a damn good go of it. It's mostly all objects you can get in the regular catalogue. I have all packs installed and a few CC items that I'll link in the description below for you. I've posted the room to the Sims 4 gallery so you can download it for yourself if you wish. But the only thing your Sims can use is the pink desk chair under the window. I started the whole thing off by building a classic box, and then finding all the beds that are blue to try and match Calvin's bed. It turns out the Pufferhead stuff pack, which is user-made custom content based on unofficial Harry Potter furniture, was useful in more ways than one. I started on Calvin's side of the room first, as I thought it would be the most difficult, what with the bridge above his bed, and also because I've not done this before and there's so much to do. The type of Sims player I am means I rarely play with kids or toddlers, so choosing a children's bedroom as my first build for this was a smart idea. But I found this cute spacey astronomy light and it was an absolute perfect fit. It completely matches the vibe of Calvin's side and helped light the room to build too, and makes this video look nicer and less grey. Figuring out how to do the bridge over Calvin's bed took a few goes. It changes a lot throughout this video, but it's all been created using debug items. You'll see it progress through this video, and hopefully you'll agree that its final form is the best. For the stairs going up to Calvin's bridge across his bed, I thought about using the abandoned walkway, which I've seen nearly every builder use since we've had access to the live edit objects. Live edit objects are the objects you see around the world in The Sims 4. We've recently been able to access these through a cheat code entered into the console. If you want any help with how to access these objects through cheats, let me know in the comments below. But soon realised that wasn't going to work, so thought about using actual stairs and no, that wasn't going to work either. I could of course have used shelves to create steps going up to the bridge. I thought about using a custom content ladder too, but in the end I decided to look for custom content stairs, which you'll see shortly and are listed in the description below. Next you'll see me get loads of posts out to save time later with scrolling through the debug menu, the thing that took the most amount of time. The debug menu is also accessible through cheats. The debug objects tend to be objects you can't access through the normal build by catalogue. They tend to be objects that are normally collectibles in the world, or other bits and pieces that the Sims just pull out of their pockets to use, like toothbrushes. Because of this, most of the things aren't categorised or even named, so they're all just called debug. This makes looking for things you want really quite difficult. And then, of course, I changed how the bridge looks again, and then changed how the stairs should look before deciding actually no. But it was this part, the part where I placed the wooden fencing down behind the bed, where I finally saw the room taking shape. I started to put the wooden posts in the places they needed to be in, and it started to look like how I imagined it should. I then popped out of the game, downloaded some stairs that were in sets of 4, unusable by Sims, but loads of clutter slots, and put that in place of the stairs I just painstakingly created. Clutter slots and objects tend to be where you can put other, smaller objects. Often it's places like shelves, tables, and counters that have places like this to sit things on. Clutter items tend to be really small items like flowers and ornaments and clocks and other bits and pieces like that. After sorting out the stairs, I then decided to put loads of these posts down to make sure we had enough wooden posts to be able to stack all those books on. And then later on, I changed them all. At this point, I don't even have any flooring or wallpaper on, but I start plopping down the important things. The cube storage. This is custom content, again listed in the description, and they are stackable, linkable, and come in a whole array of colours. 10 out of 10 content. But then I thought it's probably best to actually put some carpet down and make the room look more like a room and less like a garden. The walls on Calvin's side are deep blue and down the middle is a wooden panel, and I think here you can really see it starting to look pretty decent. I also made a start on making the room look more like a room by starting to flesh out Sam's side of the room with paint, carpet and a window down the middle of the two. One of my biggest stresses with The Sims 4 are its absolutely rubbish curtains and blinds, and for this room they needed to be two-tone, which was never going to happen without the use of some custom content and some recolours. Purple and orange are not easy to come across. And then it was time to put the best part in, the radiator. I love radiators like this in real life, but of course radiators aren't a thing in The Sims 4, even though you can warm your house up if you have seasons, but how? Do they all have underfloor heating? Who knows? Either way, I love sorting this part of the room out, and you'll see it change quite a bit over the course of the next few minutes. Adding in shelves, clutter, and making it look just like the shot on screen now was pretty long-winded, surprisingly. I also realised that the wall height was too low for the window to have shelving space underneath it, so I increased the wall height and built the shelving unit. I then plopped the chair down in front of it all and started to clutter the out of it. The dog picture is from the redone Sims 2 IKEA custom content pack, and here you'll see me fiddle around with stuff till it looks just right. Or as right as it can look in The Sims. And those clutter slots, there are too many damn clutter slots. I had to keep moving all the shelves out of the way to make room for the actual clutter items and then changing the height of the shelves so nothing ended up floating. Nightmare. Next up, it was time to start fleshing out Calvin's side of the bedroom a bit more, and that meant choosing a dresser. I ended up using a couple of different ones, one from Peacemaker's Roarsome kids bedroom set and another which is from the Sims 2 IKEA custom content pack that hides underneath the stairs. Cluttering Calvin's side of the room was fun. It was really nice to be able to go full space age with this side. And then on to one of my favourite parts of Calvin's side, the little darts in the side of his dresser. It's little details like this and using objects in ways that perhaps not meant to be used that I love about building. Though I thought I had found good objects to use for this, only they were the wrong way round. Which led me to really wishing I could rotate things on an axis like you can in Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo. However, I really like how these turned out. Thanks, Debug Menu. Now on to another one of my favourite parts of Calvin's side of the room, which are the wellies by the door. The wellies are from the Rustic Romance custom content stuff pack and they're so damn cute. They were absolutely perfect for this room and I'm glad I had them, as the only thing in game I could find were the shoe racks and they just wouldn't cut it. Then it was time to start putting the pictures on the wall, including the calendar, of which I could only find the Sims in Uniform calendar, which wasn't very appropriate, as the calendar from Cats and Dogs is called 6 Days of Pets, which you'd never search for. A lot of this video has had a lot of scrolling and searching cut out. You're so welcome. You see me fiddle around with maybe using a blue wooden wallpaper instead of actual debug fencing here, but that idea was soon scrapped. And then it was time to finish cluttering up Calvin's space and plonking in the other dresser. After adding all these books on top of these posts, which, spoiler, I later on changed, I decided to tackle the floating top of the fort. Oh boy, do I make it out of walls and windows? No, I decided to use some more debug items to create this. The Cats and Dogs pack came in very handy for a lot of this build, namely the debug bits. And then I went through and used different fencing, which meant deleting the wall so the poster wouldn't clip to the wall and would instead sit over the fencing. Difficult to explain, but I hope you can see what I mean. And here we have me changing the posts I spent ages sorting out to match the ones going across the bridge, also because round posts match the game way better. And then I finished off the top of the fort. The stairs clipped through, but I decided to not be too fussy here and just to essentially deal with it and tried to cover it up with a teddy bear. I used some more of those cubes from earlier, whacked a solar system school project in there and some candles. In the game, this is where there is a memorial to Calvin with a space helmet and a few candles. The next bit might strike you as a bit weird. If you've not played What Remains of Edith Finch, there's a red rope cording off each side of the room, mainly fencing in Calvin's side. So yeah, Sam had to live in a room with his dead twin brother's empty side being untouched. Kinda creepy, right? Both boys have hidden passages leading to different parts of the house from their respective sides of the room. I used dog flaps from Cats and Dogs for these. Calvin's is hidden behind a bookcase and Sam's is still open. Next up, I added loads of books to make the room look properly cluttered. I love a cluttered space in The Sims, less so in real life, which meant moving the stairs out every time. As I mentioned, they had click into place clutter slots. And then added in some more wooden posts to finish the look of the bridge, found a few more spacey lights and added some stars to the walls to make the whole place feel like deep space. Next up is me choosing the correct door and putting the height chart on it. I ended up using a door from University as it has the peephole. Unfortunately it has the metal frame, but limitations are what we thrive on. We make it work. And then it's on to Sam's side of the room, which, as I mentioned earlier, is very military themed. His story tells us he is eventually enlisted into the Marines, but also shows he has a keen interest in photography, which is referenced during his story in the game. Sam was killed by a buck he'd not quite killed properly at the age of 33, and the moment was caught on camera. Sam's side of the room was a lot easier to put together as it essentially mirrors Calvin's without the difficult bridge bit. Probably because he was no longer 11 and didn't really need the whole fort thing. Most of the work for Calvin's side was figuring out how the frick to do anything, so it was much easier once I knew what I was doing. All I needed to do was essentially copy and paste most of it across to the other side and change the colour so they were a little more green. I also decided to hoard a whole load of boxes ready for this fort as I knew they were going to be needed later on. The next step was to shrink the room so it was the right size and start creating Sam's fort. I had a lot of trouble with these stairs as they kept clipping to one another. The clutter slots, can't live with them, can't live without them. But once I'd got them lined up perfectly, I'd then need to move them to put clutter on anyway. So did I really achieve anything here? And then my absolute favourite cube shelves had also clipped to the stairs. Honestly. This was me trawling through Debug trying to find the exact same fence again. I honestly wish Debug was better organised. The Sims team can hire me to do this if they wish. I'd do it. But luckily for you, I've cut out most of the searching, and luckily for me, I came across some other bits I need for this room, so made sure to grab them too. I found them. Have you ever seen such a beautiful sight? My guess is not. Then I quickly got to work on finishing off the stairs and starting to build the box filled with boxes. As I was making this part of Sam's bedroom, it occurred to me new ways to make Calvin's side look slightly better too, so expect a lot of poking around and finessing on both sides of the room from this point forward. I realised there was not a swatch of Calvin's dresser in green, so swapped it out for something that matched a little better, and then I continued putting posts in the stairs. When going to put Sam's dresser down, I realised there was not a swatch of Calvin's dresser in green, so swapped it out for something that matched a little better, and then I continued putting posts in the stairs. And at this point I felt like that was all my life had become. And in goes those well-discovered boxes from earlier. Oddly, one of my favourite parts of the entire room. What an unexpected turn of events. Next up, it was time to populate Sam's walls so his side looked a little more lived in. I wanted to make sure I focused on the military side of things and to keep the tones to browns and greys, so found some good wall decorations to suit this. Then it was on to bringing his love of photography alive. I placed a tripod and a few cameras down to try to capture this properly. Haha, pun intended. Putting up these postcards and these pictures was probably one of the most satisfying and frustrating parts of the room. The wall had to be removed and they all had to be placed just right to match how it looked in game. I couldn't find a picture that quite matched the aspect ratio needed, but I kept the colours muted and created my own version. Here I put in Sam's secret door and changed the colour of Calvin's and put the secret bookcase in front of Calvin's too. Side note, not actually a secret door hidden in a bookcase, just a bookcase. Going underneath Sam's fort, I added a shelf and some pictures and then played around with the placements of his other wall decorations too, including these antlers which are also custom content, listed below again, something The Sims doesn't have but was really quite necessary to finish the room off. I had to remove the wall to get the placement just right and then added some book clutter to his bed. It really started to look like it was shaping up to look as it should. And then I added even more book clutter, absolutely loads of it. I bloody love book clutter. I added Sam's final tripod, some lights, and then went through and made sure everything looked as good as it should. I decided to change Sam's wallpaper to the mountainy wallpaper to match his in-game wallpaper and then use some more Pufferhead for Calvin's side. It needed to be starry and as space age as possible, and this matched wonderfully. And then finally, I added even more posts to finish it all off. Posts, posts, posts. And now, screenshots. So here I've got some comparisons of both sides of the room, starting off with Calvin's side and my favourite little bits on the dresser. And then we move on to Sam's side of the room, so you can kind of see where I've taken inspiration from and where I put it in there. Things that I may have missed as well. I'm looking back at it now and wishing I'd put something here instead of there or something like that. I hope you can see from these comparison shots that I've managed to get the room looking pretty much like it does in game. Obviously there are some bits that I've missed, some bits that I couldn't recreate, but overall I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Thank you for watching our very first episode of Can We Build It? As you can see, yes we can. If you enjoyed what you saw today, why not like and subscribe to Rock Paper Shotgun so you can see future episodes like this and other Sims 4 content, because we post about The Sims quite a lot. If you have any suggestions of what rooms you'd like to see me recreate in The Sims 4, do let me know in the comments below. Or if you want a tutorial on how to build in The Sims 4 or how to place clutter items, also let me know that in the comments below too. Thanks so much for watching and hopefully see you again soon.